one thing, that whether you are from academic or general batch, and also Nilesh, you as well. Just tell me academic or general batch. Okay. Okay, noted. Noted. Not at all, Payal. We did not even start anything. So we are going to be starting now. Okay, first of all, is my screen visible to everyone now? Are you able to see the task 1 here? Sorry, task 2 here. Yeah, Safia, you need to leave that. Definitely you should leave that. At the end, I would also again share the link with you for both Google Classrooms, general and academic. Then join it according to whatever test you're taking. You can leave the link if you have joined in accidentally, okay? Payal, are you part of Google Classroom course yesterday? Remove you. Safia, I'll remove you. I'll do it. Just remind me at the end of the session today. I'll remove you. At the end, all those students who are having problems with Google Classroom, just stay till the end. At the end, I will be clearing all your doubts and everything. So because other students are waiting right now, okay? Those who are having problems, any problem with the recording or Google Classroom, just stay in the class till the end. I will clear all those doubts, and I would also make you part of all the Google Classroom, your respective Google Classroom, and also the recording part, okay? Mehak, it is for both general and academic. Task 1, 2 is same for, that's what, let's say, start with the task 2 first of all. Task 2 is going to be very good, Payal. First of all, I would say that it's a really good thing, those who actually attended the orientation, because this is where you are supposed to be clearing all those doubts. It's okay if some of you were not able to do it, but just try to make sure you are patient enough to wait till the end of the session, because I think students are already waiting and it's not good to make them wait so much, okay? Now let's start. First of all, first thing first, task 2 is similar for both academic and general students, okay? So it is not different at all. You would be getting the same question prompt. The question types will be same. The time you will be given is also going to be same. No difference at all. Okay. Now let's understand first of all. Writing is going to be fetching you. No, sorry, writing is going to be having 2 tasks. Okay. Task 1 and a task 2. In task 1, for academic students, you guys receive a report writing, which means you will be having graphs, charts, process, map. On the other hand, general students, general test takers, you guys will be having letter writing, okay, in task 1. But today, this is not our agenda. We are not going to be discussing that. Our focus is going to be task 2, and it is similar for both academic and general test takers. It's not different at all, okay? There are no differences. Now, first of all, let's focus on the number of. When you talk about an essay, you will be writing at least 250 words. This is a minimum word limit that you have to follow. Now, in case, let's say, you write even a single word less than that, you will be losing score, okay? So, writing even a single word less than this impacts your scores. Now, why does it happen? Because you're not following the instruction that has been given to you. Even if, let's say, you write 249 words, you will be losing a score without even making a mistake, just because you did not follow the instruction that was given to you. Okay. Now, good thing is that we don't really have any upper word limit, which means you can write as much as you want. However, there is a time limit, which means you should be ideally spending 40 minutes on task 2 on essay writing, right? So it doesn't make sense to write as much as you want to write. So try to keep your word limit under 300 words. Okay, try to keep it under or around 300 words, not beyond that, because it will take a lot of time for you to write a task that is having 300, 400 words or so. Okay, and also it doesn't really impact your score. Let's say I write 500 words or 400 words. It doesn't impact my score at all because the parameters are going to be same only, and number of words are not going to be contributing at all in those parameters. Okay, now you will be having 40 minutes. In that duration, you are supposed to be writing the task, which means you need to write at least 250 words for an essay within 40 minutes. Now, but in the actual writing, in the exam, you will be getting 60 minutes to write both tasks, which means it is up to you how much time you want to spend. You can spend 30 minutes on task 2. You can spend rest of the time on task 1. It is up to you. You can spend even 45 minutes on task 2. And you can spend the rest of the time on task 1. Again, it is up to you, but definitely not practical. So ideally, you are supposed to be spending 40 minutes on writing an essay. Now, how would you be using this time? First of all, try to spend at least 5 to 6 minutes planning your task. Okay. Planning should be 5 to 6 minutes, and afterwards you would be spending at least 25 to 28 minutes writing your task. Whatever your essay is, you will be writing that. Now, the rest of the time, that is 5 to 6 minutes, should be spent on proofreading. Now, is there anyone who doesn't know what is proofreading? Is there anyone who doesn't know what is proofreading? You can mention it in the chat. And those who know, you can also mention what is proofreading. And also try to make the session interactive. Speak when you want to speak in the class. You can raise your hand. You can ask questions. All those things are absolutely encouraged. Okay. You should be asking questions whenever you have a doubt. Okay. And that's the reason I'm going to be allowing you to speak. Just do not speak abruptly. First, raise your hand and then you would be mentioning that. Okay. Very good, Nishchantya. Yes, very good. To revise, correcting mistakes. Yes. So proofreading is you are checking your task or draft to look at or eliminate, we can say, to eliminate the possible errors. Now, those errors can be related to spellings, those can be grammatical errors, any kinds of errors can be there. Now, again, those errors do not occur because you don't know. For example, I would say I'm really good with spellings. I do not make spelling errors. I'm really good with grammar. I hardly ever make any grammatical error. But in the writing, what happens? You are in a flow of writing. You're thinking, you're writing, you have time constraint. Lots of things are happening at the same time. And that's the reason you would be having a little bit of burden on your head. And that could be the potential reason that you might end up making errors that you otherwise would not make. Okay. And that is precisely the reason you need to keep some time aside in order to make sure that you're proofreading your task at the end. Okay. And this is absolutely the most important thing. I have already mentioned you the reason that you would be having lots of burden on your head when you will be writing the task. And because of that, you might make certain errors. Okay. So are we clear with these things? The number of words, timing, and how to use time. Are we clear with that? So far, any questions, anyone? Yes, right, Mehak. And in the chat, mention Y or N. Okay, when you have a question, you can mention Y. That means you have a question. In case you say, no, I don't have a question, put N in the chat. In case you're typing in your doubt, mention T in the chat. Okay, so I can take a cue. So Khatija, it's up to you. To be honest, I would say, let's say I would just give you a scenario here. Let's say you're writing a task and you have made a certain mistake. Is it easier for you to eliminate that mistake by using a pen or a pencil? Which is going to be giving you that leverage where you can correct a mistake in case you have made that mistake? A pencil, obviously, right? So pen, if you are absolutely sure about your writing, you can definitely use that. There is no such thing you can't use it. But because of some errors, pencil is something I would personally recommend. But again, try and test both and choose one accordingly. Pencil is something I would say would be the better option. Now let's start with the essay writing. First of all, let's understand what is an essay. Yes, you can do it. Okay, now first of all, what is an essay? Essay is going to be having two things. One is premise plus task. Okay, these two combined together, you would be having an essay. For example, right now you're looking at this particular task. It is an essay. Okay, now if you separate them, this part is called the premise. Now premise, what is the premise? Premise is the background information, a statement that tells you what you are going to be doing in the task. Now let's say I do not have this one. It is just a statement, simple situation that has been given to you. It is like crime is a problem all over the world and there is nothing that can be done to prevent it. That's the question that we have received. Now, if I just read it, I don't know what am I supposed to be doing in this essay. Do I know that? No. Just by reading the premise, you would not know what you need to do in the essay. So what you need a task. Your task being this one. To what extent do you agree or disagree? Now, this is called a task because by reading that, now you need to know what you need to do in the task. Now you need to, write the task according to this task only. Okay. So if I say that crime is all over the world and there is nothing that can be done to prevent it, then I read this question. It is, to what extent do you agree or disagree? Okay, is it the case with everyone that my voice is breaking?
No, ma'am, it's clear.
Clear? There is this one student, so Jai is telling me that my voice is breaking. Please mention it in the chat so that it's clear. Clear. Okay, most of you are saying clear, but I'm turning off my camera in case it's some internet issue, okay? Because I do not want it to be having some problem, okay? So again, Jay, try checking it again. Okay, try checking it again in case it is the issue. Try changing wherever you're maybe sitting or standing, okay? Maybe try changing the place, okay? Okay, so I'm repeating, first of all, essay is made up of two parts. One is going to be a premise. This is going to be the background information, just a simple statement, okay, nothing else. Then a task, which means if you read this statement, this is going to be just telling you the background information, okay? Then you would have this task, and this task will tell you what you need to do in the task. For example, here you need to form an opinion, and then you need to write the task accordingly. And these two combined together, you would be having an essay, okay? Don't worry, I will also show you different types of essays that we have. Right now, it is just an example that I'm showing you, okay? But are we clear with the premise and a task? What is a premise and a task? Because these two keep on changing, okay? They never stay same. Okay, so now let's move on to the most important part of writing. One is, we are going to be discussing the parameters of writing. Now, parameters are really important. Why? Because this will help you know that your strengths and weaknesses, okay, where you are lacking in the task, where you need to work on, because you can't really always depend on a feedback that you will be receiving, right? You also need to have a basic understanding of judging your task in writing as well, okay? That's the reason we are going to be discussing the parameters which are usually taken into consideration by the examiner when any task is scored, okay? Now let's look at this. These are the parameters. You can see we have total 4 of them: task response, coherence and cohesion, lexical resource, and then eventually grammatical range and accuracy. Okay. Now we are going to be discussing all of them one by one. And so let's start. We are going to be focusing on 7, 8, and 9 band. These are the scores, right? We have a band 8, a band 9, right? These are the scores that we have. We are going to be considering them. Now let's start with the task response first. So parameter task 1, if we talk about that, it fetches you 25% of your writing score. So 25% of your writing score is going to be coming only from task response. If you get this parameter right, you will be able to secure 25% of your writing score. Now, what is it asking you? Just a couple of things, not many. Now, if you see here, it is saying fully addresses all parts of the question. Very important part. We will discuss about it a bit in detail later on. I will also tell you what are parts of the task. That presents a fully developed position in an answer to the question with relevant, fully extended and well-supported ideas, right? One is fully developed position. The other one is all parts of the questions that you need to address. Here they said fully addressed, now they're saying sufficiently addressed, but the thing is same only, nothing changes. Again, a well-developed response, question with relevant, extended and supported idea, same information. Now addresses all the parts of the questions. Then a clear position that was also written here throughout the response, then presents, extends and supports main idea, but maybe there may be a tendency to overgeneralize and supporting ideas that may lack focus. Now we need to just focus on 3 or 4 things. One is addressing all the parts of the questions. Before we can address all the parts of the questions, we need to know what are parts of the questions. So whenever you see, everything will be shared. Jad, don't worry. The document that I'm working on, this document will be shared with you. This file will be shared with you. Everything will be shared. Don't worry. Now let's look at the parts of the questions. Okay. Let's take simple this question first. Now this part is of the essay is called what? First tell me, because I have just taught you this. This part of the question is called what? Premise. Yes, very good. This is a premise. Very good. And this part of the question is called what? A task, which means this is an essay that we have received. Now, in the task, you will be having some parts, okay? The parts, they are talking about again and address all parts of the task. Now, this is the task, we need to address all the parts of the task. Now, what are the parts now? The question is saying here, in some cultures, children are often told that they can achieve anything if they try hard enough. This is the premise that we have. Now, the task is saying what are the advantages and disadvantages of having children, this message. Now we have 2 parts in this particular task. One, this part. Second, this part. So first we need to discuss advantages. Then we need to discuss disadvantages. Okay, we cannot eliminate any of them. Let's say you just focus on disadvantages and you do not even mention anything about advantages. What will happen? Your task response will be getting impacted because of that. Okay, these 2 parts are to be addressed, and that's what we call addressing all parts of the question. Okay, now look at this task and tell me how many parts are there. You don't even need to read the premise, just look at this and tell me how many parts are there in this particular task. Discuss both views and give your opinion. 3, keep mentioning answers. 2, 3, 3. 2, 3, 2, 2. Actually, we have 3 of them. Okay. Now, how do we have 3 of them? First part is saying discuss both views, which means you have to discuss both views. View first, some people, and other believe that, right? Others believe that this part, which means this is one part. This is the second part, and third part is going to be your own view. Okay. And in case, let's say you discuss just 2 sides and then you do not give your opinion, your task response will be getting impacted. Or you discuss one of the views and then you just discuss your opinion and do not focus on the other opinion, then again your task response will be getting impacted. Okay. Now look at this task and tell me how many parts are there in the task. In this task, how many parts are there? 2, 1, 1, 2, 2. Okay, majority is saying 2. But there is only one part, okay? One part. Because the question is saying, do you think is it a positive or a negative development? You can't really write both. You need to write just one, okay? Because or is that. In the previous task, we had and. advantages and disadvantages, which means you don't have a choice. You have to discuss both. But now we have one here, that is all. You have a choice either to say it is positive or it is negative. You can't say both. Okay, you have a choice now. And whatever side you take, it, let's say you say it is a positive development, you need to write points only for the positive side. You don't need to discuss the negative aspect of it. Okay, in case you say that it is a negative development, now you don't need to talk about anything positive about this development. Okay, so this question has only one part. Now last, this question, look at it and now tell me how many parts we have. Yes, Prima, good. 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 2. Okay, keep going. There are 2 parts. Okay, first you need to mention reasons. Why might this be the case? Reasons here, right? And in this one, you need to mention, you need to form an opinion and write one side here. Your opinion, whatever your opinion is, you need to write that opinion, which means this is one part of the question. This is the second part of the question. Okay. Again, or is there, right? You will not be discussing both. Just a heads up, I would like to mention that sometime instead of or, you might receive and as well. At that time, you will be discussing both of them. Okay. Are we now sure about it? And are we having any doubts about the parts of the question? Can we judge them now? If you have a task, can you find how many parts you have in a task? Perfect. Now, this was one part addressing all the parts of the questions. Okay. Okay. Again, some of the students are saying that you're not sure about it. So parts of the questions are, let's say, how many parts you have in a question. For example, the question is saying in some countries, owning a home rather than renting one is very important for people. This is the premise that we have. Now, the first question is saying, why might this be the case? First, in one paragraph, you need to discuss reasons why it is the case that people think that owning a house is important, right? In the second paragraph, you need to mention whether it is positive or it is negative. You don't need to mention both. Okay. Don't worry, Arvind, about the types of the essays. This is something we are yet to discuss. We have not discussed the types of essays yet. That's the other part when we will discuss about that. Don't worry about that. Okay. Parts of the essays were discussed. We are going to be now, later on, we will be discussing the types of essays one by one. Okay. Yes, 2 paragraphs. When I say paragraphs, I say body paragraphs. We are not talking about introduction and conclusion because without them, we can't even write an essay. Okay. That's why whenever we say paragraphs, we are talking about just the body paragraphs. Okay, now task response. First of all, you need to address all the parts of the questions. Then you need to have a fully developed position. When you say position, they are talking about giving your opinion. Some essays would require you to form an opinion, then write an essay according to that opinion only. For example, this essay, this is clearly asking your opinion only. In case you don't form an opinion, you can't really write this essay. You need to mention whether it is positive or a negative development, right? You need to mention that. According to that, you need to write the essay. Now, the other part is that sticking to that position throughout the task. Whatever opinion you form, you need to stick to it throughout the task. Now, it doesn't mean in the introduction, I say it is a positive development. In body paragraphs, I'm talking about both positive and negative sides, right? Then in conclusion, again, I would say it is a negative development. What am I even doing? I'm not sticking to my position. I'm deviating from the position, okay? That is why whenever you have a certain position, which means whenever you form an opinion, then you need to stick to that opinion throughout the essay. It means that in the introduction, you say it is a positive development. In body paragraphs, you discuss positive points for that development. Then in conclusion, you later on state that it is a positive development because of all the reasons that you have already stated. Okay. That is what you call having a fully developed position in an essay and also sticking to that particular position. Then we have mention main ideas and supporting them with explanation and examples. That's quite easy. If you're giving an opinion, right, you can't just leave that in between. If you mention an idea, right, you need to start with an idea. Then you need to explain that idea as well, explanation of that idea. Then it would be even better if you mention an example. If you just follow this, you are fine with the development of ideas. You can easily address this part of the question where they are asking you to fully develop your ideas, supported, well-developed ideas, okay? Right now, let's not discuss that. We will discuss about them when we will reach the types of essays, okay? Right now, that's not a relevant question to this part. Don't worry about them. All those doubts will be cleared, okay? So now the ideas have to be relevant, okay? Whatever, like your essay is going to be having certain keywords. And when you will be answering the questions and you will be brainstorming ideas, you need to target those keywords when you will be brainstorming ideas. Let me give you an example here. Let's say my essay is saying this one, that tourism impacts the environment, right? Let's say this is your question. Now my ideas are this, that I'm saying that higher number of tourists helps in economic development. This is my first idea. Then my second idea is this: tourism makes a country popular. A country has foreign currency flow, right? These are the ideas. Now, do you think my ideas are fine? Am I on the right path? Am I doing a good job with the ideas right now? Why? Why? My ideas are absolutely fine, right? They're talking about tourism and the question is asking tourism as well. Where am I wrong right now? You point this out to me. Where am I wrong if you say it is not right? Oh, okay, then I will give you one more idea. I would mention that. Okay, I'll write one more point and then tell me if I'm on the right track or not. You will be judging me. I will not be doing anything at all. Okay, I would say that. Usually exploring a destination to relax, so they hardly pay attention to maintaining uh, cleanliness of a place they visit. Now, am I on the right path? Is it the right answer now? Yes, absolutely. Right? All these ideas are wrong because I'm just focusing on tourism only. I'm just focusing on tourism. I'm not even looking at the other keyword that is about environment. And trust me, it actually happens. Okay, trust me, it happens. That it happens just because you are in the flow of writing. These are the kinds of errors that may occur. So as soon as you receive your task, you need to focus on always looking at the keywords that you have so that you can generate relevant ideas. Otherwise, your ideas will not be relevant at all. Okay, that is what we call that you have to have relevant ideas. Otherwise, brainstorming ideas is not a problem at all. Everyone can easily find idea and just write that idea. The problem is when you are not able to find relevant ideas. Okay, in case your ideas are not relevant and they are not covering the keywords in the question, what would happen? Some part of 25% of your score would be just going away from you. Okay, Now are we clear with the task response? How to have a task response that is properly responding to the question that we have received? Just 3 or 4 points, just address all the points of the question. Your answers have to be, your ideas have to be properly developed, and you have to have relevant ideas, and you have to have a clear position throughout the task. That's all you have to do, and your task response is fine. And you can see how easy it is for us to secure 25% of our writing score just by maintaining that. No grammar, no nothing else, right? Now are we fine? Shall we move to the next part now, which is coherence and cohesion? Okay. Now, coherence and cohesion, there are two parts in that. One is coherence, the other one is cohesion. Let's separate them and then we will discuss about them. First of all, uses cohesion in such a way that it attracts no attention, skillfully manages paragraphing. Two parts, cohesion, and the other one is paragraphing. Sequences information and ideas logically, and then manages all parts, aspects of cohesions well. Uses paragraphing, it was also there sufficiently, appropriately. Logically organizes information and ideas. There is a clear progression throughout, which means again they are talking about logically, this one only, sequencing the information properly. This is what I will be doing. Don't worry, I will be doing it. Uses a range of cohesive devices. Again, the same thing they mentioned here. They are again mentioning the same thing. Presents a clear central topic within each paragraph. Now, central topic is the same thing that we mentioned, the idea, the sequence of information. Now, let's decode it. Again, as I mentioned, there are two parts in that. First, let's talk about cohesion. Cohesion is all about cohesive devices. Now, is there anyone who already knows what is cohesive? What are cohesive devices? What are cohesive devices? Is there anyone who knows? If, but, sort of, you are on the right path. However, yes, connecting words. Yes, very good. So linking words, we call them connectors as well. We also call them discourse markers. So basically, we are talking about what? However, moreover, furthermore, all these, okay, we are talking about them, okay, adding more information. Now, referencing and substituting is another part. If you see, they're saying in such a way that it attracts no attention. Do you think if you use furthermore, it will not attract attention? Obviously, it will attract attention in the writing. If you use moreover, it will also attract attention. Now, you need to focus on those which hardly attracts any attention. For example, words like, if you, let's say, use people, then you use they for that. You use, substituting and referencing this. You use that to refer back to a certain situation, right? Those, right? When you use those words, substituting who, then what are you doing? You are using referencing and substituting, which means it's a very natural way of linking the information and maintain flow in writing. Okay, this is not the only way you can maintain flow in writing and make sure the writing is cohesive enough. You also need to use these, he, she, all those pronouns. We can use them. Okay. And apart from that, conjunctions, despite, and, or, although, all these are going to be helping you, link the information naturally, skillful way of adding the information. So do not limit linking in the information just using connectors and linking words only. Focus on adverbial clauses like during, after, right? All those words, those are also adverbial clauses. They will help you link the information. Yes, Amir, that is on the other hand, this is also a linker. Okay. So this is just cohesion is this much only, nothing more than that. Now coherence, what is coherence? But are we clear with the cohesion? Just linking words, substituting and referencing, then conjunctions that we easily use. Okay. Now what is coherence? Coherence is different than that. Coherence is, first of all, they're clearly saying that paragraphing is easy, only start with introduction, then body paragraphs, then conclusion. Is it easy, difficult to follow? Is it something we can't do? Don't you think we are already maintaining a good paragraphing? We hardly write an essay without intro and conclusion. All you have to focus on having at least 2 body paragraphs, right? I have written it in plural form. Make sure you're having at least 2 body paragraphs. Don't worry, we will talk about the structure later on. I'm just giving you rough estimation right now. Now, then you have to have a topic sentence as well. Now, topic sentence is a sentence that is going to be in the beginning of a body paragraph. When you start a body paragraph, you would write one sentence in the beginning as the first sentence that would let the examiner know that what are you writing in the essay. Now, for example, let's say you're writing an essay that is asking you reasons and solutions. Do you think the examiner should read the entire paragraph and then the person need to determine, okay, this paragraph is for reasons? Then the person would read the other paragraph, then would determine, okay, this paragraph is for solutions. Do you think it is the right approach? Do you think we should confuse the examiner like this? And the person would be having, we don't know how many tasks at that moment. Definitely not, right? So what we are going to be doing, we will write one sentence in the beginning of a paragraph, body paragraph, just to let the person know that this paragraph is for solutions and this paragraph is for reasons, right? For example, it could be as easy. There are many reasons for this situation. There are many reasons why tourism impacts environment negatively, right? So I am going to be telling the examiner, okay, this is the paragraph that is dedicated for reasons only. Okay, only two reasons, nothing else. Are we clear about it? What is a topic sentence? A sentence that is written in the beginning of a body paragraph just to let the examiner know what this paragraph is about. Okay, a sentence or the first sentence. Let's keep it simple. The first sentence in the beginning of a paragraph, a body paragraph. Now, logical sequence of information. What is logical sequence of information? They are clearly again saying here, right? Sequence information and ideas logically. What is that? Again, quite easy. You just have to follow one format, that point. After the point, just mention the explanation and then add an example. That's a logical way of mentioning the information. So the idea is flowing. First, you are mentioning an idea, then it is followed by explanation as well. Okay. And then you are also giving example if it is possible. Actually, Amir, we will talk about that in detail later on, but actually it would depend on an essay. Let's say if my essay is asking positive or negative development, there is no way I will change my stance by the time I reach my second body paragraph. Let's say if I say positive development, I would write two positive ideas in one paragraph, then two positive ideas in another paragraph, right? There is no way first I say positive ideas and in next paragraph, I would say negative. This is not going to be happening, which means if my stance is not changing for the second paragraph, you don't need a topic sentence. Okay. On the other hand, let's say I'm writing this essay that is asking advantages and disadvantages. Now, this paragraph would have a topic sentence. Even this paragraph would have a topic sentence. Okay. If my stance in, let's say, in an opinion essay, it is possible that one paragraph would have a topic sentence, the second one would not need that because you will not change your stance. If I agreed, I would just mention everything about agreement only in two body paragraphs. I would not suddenly say that I disagree with that, which means I don't need to have a topic sentence about that for the paragraph 2. We will discuss about that later as well when we will discuss body paragraphs, okay? Now, are we clear about this part as well, the coherence part? These are quite easy to maintain in a writing task. They are not that difficult. Okay, perfect. Now, lexical source. Now, what is lexical source? Let's first discuss about them and then we will discuss about that. It's also easy, wide range of vocabulary, again, natural and sophisticated control. Features, slips, some slips are happening in the use of vocabulary, but again, then they say wide range of vocabulary, convey precise meaning, skillfully uses lexical items that may be occasional inaccuracies, then produces rare errors in spelling. Spellings are important. You can see it here already. It will actually help you score better if you are following that, where you're not messing up with the spellings, okay? Make sure your spellings are correct. Uses again wide range of vocabulary. Again, they're asking you to use less common lexical items. We will talk about that. Collocations, then occasional errors in word choice and spelling. Just a couple of things, not more. First, wide range of vocabulary, which means they want you to use some synonyms. Okay. They want you to make sure you are showing. Again, understand one thing only. The examiner does not know you, right? The person doesn't know you, who you are, right? And how well you are with the language. And the person would get only 400 words from your side to judge where you stand in the language. So you need to mention as much variety as possible, right? So wide range of vocabulary would help the person know that, okay, you know this language pretty well, okay? So the person can determine, okay, whether you can receive 8, 7, 9 or whatever, okay? Now topic specific vocabulary. What is topic specific vocabulary? It is self-explanatory only. Whatever topic that you have, you are using words related to that. For example, let's say I'm writing an essay that is talking about education, school, university and all, right? They're talking about that. I need to use word like subjects, syllabus, extracurricular activities, right? The pedagogical approach, all those words, these are related to education only. Let's say I'm talking about art. I can use words such as artist. I can use painting. I can use words such as maybe, leisure time, right? All those words are related to art only. Again, let's say I'm talking about medical or health or something. Words such as hospital, treatment, nutrition, diet, gyms, all those words are related to what? Health only. So this is called topic specific vocabulary, that you have sufficient words that are related to that only. Let's say you're writing about job, perks, bonuses, right? Layoff, those kinds of redundancies. All those words are related to what? Job only. Okay. So this is called topic specific vocabulary. So precise, precision in vocab. Okay. So words that are specific to that topic only. Now there we also need to have some uncommon lexical source. Now uncommon words. Uncommon words are not words that nobody knows about. Okay, those words we don't need. A word that I did not see before and this is the first time I'm seeing this word. The examiner does not need that. You need to use some uncommon words. I always give this a typical example. Whenever we want to mention about, something that is really important, we always say word important, right? Very easily this word comes to us, right? What other words we can use instead of that? Instead of it, what other words we can use? Significant, urgent, vital. Vital, relevant, essential, right? We can use necessary. We can use necessary as well. Now, it doesn't mean that are these words new to you? Crucial, paramount, right? Now, tell me, are these words new to you? Do you think these words are absolutely new to you? Definitely not, right? That's not the case. It is just that we are used to using this word a lot, okay? And we are not touching these words as much. That's the only difference. And that is precisely the reason this word has become a common word and these words are now uncommon words, because we are not using them much. We are more comfortable using this only. Okay, this word itself is not a bad word. It is just that it has become common because everyone can use that word. If you try replacing that word with these words, you are already fulfilling the requirement of using uncommon vocabulary. Okay, now uncommon vocabulary doesn't mean something difficult. It simply means that you're using words that are not used as much. Okay, are we clear with the uncommon words as well? Okay, perfect. Now let's talk about collocations. Collocations we are already using. You just need to make sure you are, set of words that go together. You can't really separate them. Okay, if you separate them, whatever you write, it would be wrong. Okay, so for example, again, this is a very old example. I always take this example. If I write this, am I right? If I say do crime, people nowadays are doing a lot of crime. Am I doing the right thing? Is this fine if I use it like this? Before you mention the right one, I just need to know whether it is right or wrong. Y or N in the chat. Tell me what a mistake I made here. How can I correct it? Help me correct it. Yes, absolutely right. Because that is a collocation. We always say commit crime. We never say that do crime. Okay. So there are some set of words that go together. If you separate them, it would make your task or the words wrong. Okay. It would impact lexical source if you would be making that error. Okay. Spellings are absolutely necessary. Okay. They not, when I say spellings, I'm not talking about British and American spellings. Both forms are acceptable. For example, if you write color or you write colors, right? Like this as well. Both are acceptable forms. Okay. I'm talking about wrong spellings where your spellings are wrong. Okay. British English and American English spellings both are acceptable. You can even use them interchangeably. That's all right. Okay. But spellings, if you're making some errors in the spellings, that's not acceptable at all. Okay. Now, are we fine with lexical source, everyone? Are we having any questions about it? I'm trying to make it understand, make it clear as clearly as possible, so you can easily understand. Grammatical range and accuracy, just two parts in that, and you're done with that. The easiest one to follow for you, grammatical range and accuracy. Now, what is range and accuracy? Just two parts in that, range and accuracy. One is asking you to have wide range of structures, right? Then it is saying rare minor errors. So errors, when they say, they're talking about accuracy. Range, when they're talking about, they are talking about wide range of sentence structures. Even the next one, they're saying uses a wide range of structures. Majority of sentences are error-free ones that they have. Now, when we say various sentence structures, they want you to use just, compound, complex, conditional sentences, then passive, and relative clauses. If you mix them, you will be having a lot of range in your sentence structures, and you're fulfilling the requirement of using various sentence structures, which means you will give a person a lot of range. The examiner will be able to judge you better if you offer this kind of range to a person. Now, accuracy is self-explanatory. The majority of the sentences that you write should be error-free. It is clearly written here, right? Majority of your sentences should be right. Let's say I make one body paragraph. In one body paragraph, I write, let's say, 6 sentences. Out of that, if my target is more than 7, then I should make error. I would not say I should make error. I afford to make error just in one sentence. Okay. Not all of my sentences should be having an error. Okay. Apart from that, there should be a good control of the grammar. For example, let's say you're giving this kind of variety, but are you also using them accurately or not? That would also determine your score. So your task should not be just giving variety to the person. You need to make sure those are 100% correct as well. And that will help you have better score in that. So good control of the grammar is also necessary. And then articles. What are articles? You can mention what are articles. The preposition add on, these are preposition. A and the, yes. A and the. And punctuation marks. So punctuation marks are quite easy to follow, just to focus on, because I think we cannot write a sentence without having a full stop. We can easily master that, even if, let's say, some of you might make certain errors, which I don't think you would be making, but let's say, consider that. So full stop is not an issue. Just to focus on learning the good use of a comma. Okay, how to use a comma in a sentence, and are you using it correctly or not? If you just master that, you're fine with punctuation marks as well. Okay, so it is also not going to be an issue for you at all. This is how you can get and secure 25% of your writing score, even in grammatical range and accuracy. Now, when you're practicing, you need to focus on where you're lacking, just to judge you better. But it's not, obviously you will be receiving feedback on your tasks as well. But awareness of it would also help you understand your feedback better. Okay. Are the commas important? Of course, Jai, it is important. Commas are important, right? Because your writing would not be having proper pauses where the pauses are necessary. Okay, for example, if you do not use a comma after giving a linking word, you would be losing score. If let's say you're using two clauses in a sentence, in a complex sentence, and you're not putting a comma where it is necessary, again, you're making a grammatical error and your score will be going down in grammatical accuracy. Okay. Now, are we having any questions? Anyone? Now, I was actually looking forward to discuss the types of essays as well, but today it will not be possible, but I will share the rest of the material with you, whatever we discussed today. Okay, I will discuss and share it with you. But are we having any doubts or any questions, anyone? No? Okay, so tomorrow we are going to be starting with the discussion for the types of essays. Okay, tomorrow we will start with that. Now, those who do not have questions, you can leave the session and tomorrow